Barry, I want to take you to a gay field. I want to take you to a gay field. I want to take you to a gay field, Baz. I've got a smoky to put in you. A smoky kipper to put in you. The red lifties want to bin you gay for gay. Arbroath are at home to Kiltie Hearts tonight, 7:45pm kickoff. That's Tuesday night, of course. I'm talking, it's probably going to be the early hours of Wednesday morning before I get this pod posted. You know what I'm like, troops. It's been a pretty traumatic, pretty emotive, pretty incident and story-packed week or so, hasn't it? At old Ibrox Stadium. So there's been plenty of stuff to get out there. I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible, is what I'm saying. But when I start off by telling you that really, if Barry Ferguson hadn't walked away from the Kiltie Hearts job, if I haven't got them into the league, he hadn't dropped the mic in May 2021, he could have been off to Gayfield tonight, living the dream in a windswept maroon derby instead of facing the vultures of the Scottish press corps, Auchenhowie today, enduring the harsh blaze of mainstream media publicity and offering himself up as yet another ritual sacrifice to you, Bampots. Aye. Yeah, you frenzied animals, the bloody, bloodthirsty, gore-loving, manager-devouring Rangers support. So it's been a lot happens. I'm going to try and get this pod out as quickly as possible, try and make it as quick as possible. But I don't know if there's any great hope of that because there's just been too. He didn't look too caught in the headlights, did he, Barry? He was looking well and looking like he could still play and sounding not too bad either. This was neither a lottery prize winner kind of, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here, nor the publicity drunk cliche of himself like we saw from Neil Warnock when he took over as interim manager at Aberdeen. Remember, it was hilarious for us because he was talking more about how much of a blue nose he was and how he'd prefer it if he was the Rangers manager. I think it was his debut, wasn't it, as interim manager, Neil Warnock, for Aberdeen, when he was taking charge of Aberdeen at Ibrox. It was hilarious, absolutely hilarious for us, but the Aberdeen fans were not enjoying it, and it's that it was just, oh, I'm Neil Warnock, you know what I'm like, I'm a bit of a character, I'm going to behave just the way you expect me to, kind of thing. It was all about him and black. None of that from Barry today, and neither, as I said, they looked like he was talking quite self-effacingly about how it all come as a surprise to him, and that's perhaps a red flag about Patrick Stewart more than anything else. But Barry himself, you forget he's seen it all. You forget Barry grew up in this milieu, he grew up in this environment. This club is his home, and he was right at home, not kind of triumphalish, not scared, not cynical, not naive, but ready. He was just ready, wasn't he? How you doing, folks? This is your Fat Egg post. Someone far more hirsute and far less Belgian is in that charcoal castor tracksuit with the pale blue detailing of Parks Motor Group 32 Red strip effect. The RFC scroll crest, the castor branding is in that seat at Auchenhowie with the Unibet behind him, Seco behind him, Box T, Aim all up on that wall behind him, and the cameras and the phones and the microphones and the slavering masses of the Scottish sporting press all in front of him. Reaction pod coming to you in association with Gersnet. Check out Gersnet Sunday night pod. It was Scott, main man, Scott Bradley. He was hosting Ben and Ross. It was a fantastic pod, the three guys there. They'd just heard that Philip Clement had been sacked, so they're reviewing the debris, the detritus of that game against St Mirren on Saturday, and then dealing with the almost inevitable news that Philip Clement had been sacked. It's a really good pod. I am sponsored by that, as I'm also sponsored by Midfield Geniuses, not needing that much kind of coaching experience at the top level before they take over a massive job and make an absolutely brilliant success of it. I mean, I know Barry was at Kiltie Hearts. He started off, he's kind of forced in, 11 years ago, he was forced into the caretaker job at Blackpool by Blackpool's kind of off-field collapse. That was a hell of an experience for him, no doubt. And then he was at Clyde's for quite a while, and he went to Kiltie Hearts and did a great job at Kiltie Hearts. Had the Alloa job for a spell as well, and it's good 3 years or so he's been out of it. So you're thinking maybe that's no much of a CV to be becoming interim manager at Rangers. Graham Souness, I mean, again, fantastic playing career like Barry himself at midfield genius, but zero managerial experience when he took over as Rangers player manager. We were Graham Souness's learning grounds, and he got the ball rolling, didn't he? He really got the ball. It was a Souness revolution. He brought the glory back to Rangers, and then just let Walter take it on after that to 9 in a row, and so much more. Steven Gerrard, Liverpool reserves, been training Liverpool youth teams, and it's us. We are the first big job he gets, and it's maybe gone downhill a bit for Stevie G since he left us, and that's what he gets. That's what he deserves. Not no bitterness. I'm only joking, but again, he just took us up steadily, incrementally, worked miracles in Europe straight away, and he gets us. He gets us 55. He gets us the most important league title of our history, of our lives. Zinedine Zidane. I mean, one of the finest players ever to grace this planet we call Earth. But what was it? 2 years at Real Madrid reserves. I know he'd a spell maybe at Fleetwood, I think, and then Bonnie Rig Rose. I think he got them up into the top flight in the juniors. But no, it's really just Real Madrid reserves, and he comes in there, and it's just 3 Champions Leagues, 3 successive Champions Leagues. First guy ever to win, only manager ever to win 3 European Cups or Champions Leagues on the bounce straight away. Zizou just packs it in, drops a mic, off he goes, comes back for another wee bit, but that's him now. He's just Real Madrid manager's job or nothing, so let's not get too worried about the fact Barry's. My name's Alec Anderson. Who's the black private dick? That's a sex machine to all the chicks. Shaft, you're damn right. Who is the man that would risk his neck for his brother man? Shaft. Can you dig it? Yes, folks, welcome to the Bazza exploitation movie. This Patrick Stewart ex-player ploitation production. That was Chris Boyd today on Sky Sports was being asked. I mean, is it no? But the Rangers fans not been kind of just sold an ex-playing hero is been put in the manager's job just now, just taking it so that the sentimentality that they've got for that player will confuse the issue. It's just taking it, appease them, and kind of pull the wool over their eyes, really. But no, absolutely no way, because Chris Boyd obviously thinks that Philippe Clement, who managed Bruges and Monaco and Genk and all that, he was completely useless and had to go. But Barry, his mate, who's Alloa, Celtic Hearts, is definitely the man for the job. But it absolutely is. We absolutely are being exploited. It is tugging on the heartstrings, and it's working because, well, there's only so much wool you can pull over the Rangers fans' eyes. We tend to be overly cynical, if anything, but he is family. I was saying it in the pod last night that Barry had these kind of fallouts with him that were totally one-sided. I don't think Barry ever knew that I'd fallen out with him. But it came from a place of deep love, that kind of betrayal you feel almost from a family member when they let you down or you have a fallout with them. And as soon as I saw him last night, and I think we all initially were shocked at the idea of Barry Ferguson coming in as interim manager. As much as we might have loved his playing career. Shaft's Big Score, by the way, Shaft's Big Score is the title of the sequel, of the first follow-up film in the Shaft franchise. So I don't know if that's, indicative. I don't know if that's lucky, superstitious, or whatever for Derek McInnes or for Bazza. Is Barry Ferguson going to get a big score at Rugby Park in Wednesday night, or is it going to be Derek McInnes? I don't know, but I feel as if it's like you might be having a problem with a brother or a sister or something like that, but there's that bank of memories, that kind of wellspring of childhood solidarity, just loving each other unconditionally. So anytime you meet up, if there's some major problem in your life, a parent dies or somebody's ill, or you can really there's a real kind of crisis going on, and you're like, everything that you felt together as kids and all that, when you were that all comes flooding back and just drowns any ill feeling. I know that's not how it works at all, really, in real life, but that's how I was feeling with Barry anyway. As soon as I saw him in that little 7-minute in-house Rangers TV interview to welcome to the job, I was just basically in tears, just in floods of tears. The pain. Why did we ever fall out, Barry? But maybe I was wrong about the PLG thing, the Paul Le Guin thing. Maybe you didn't give him a hard time. Maybe he was being oversensitive. Maybe he couldn't handle the fact you were a playing legend. He definitely fucked up when it came to the Scotland thing and Walter ditching you. That's. But I feel bad about thinking that vindicated me. It's lovely to to have you back around the place, Barry. Maybe, I don't know, whether you should have the manager's job remains to be seen, but, oh, God, yeah, it is an old pals act. It is Patrick Stewart definitely trying to hit us with a lot of emotion as well. But I think we saw that the management team that Barry was getting in by his side, and we've all been schooled now. We know Graham Souness had Walter Smith. We know that Stephen Gerrard had Michael Beale for tactics, etc. We see Neil McCann's in there, definitely knows his tactics. Billy Dodge, and he's got Griggs as a kind of henchman to help him sort out the players. When he's a clip round the ears or whatever it is, he's an arm around the shoulders. Sorry, I'm constantly getting choked up with the high emotion of it all. It's I think that's been slightly reassuring to us, and I don't think you could be a proper Rangers fan if you didn't get caught up in the emotion of seeing Barry back in the hot seat today. No, back in the hot seat, just seeing him in the Rangers hot seat, seeing him back at Ibrox front and centre, seeing him deeply involved with the Rangers first team. He was honest, and he's in case you haven't got the idea, I'm talking here about Barry Ferguson's first kind of proper pre-match presser as Rangers interim manager. He's at Auchenhowie just after lunchtime Tuesday. He was honest that he was happy being away from management, I say, for like 3 years. Basically said he'd no intention of getting back into the game. Maybe that's a bit of a red flag for us, I don't know, but he seemed to deal with it all after the whole press conference quite nicely. It was only as about him as focused on Barry Ferguson, this presser, as the journalists wanted it to be. This was about Rangers. Barry didn't want it to be about him. Barry was happy to be kind of anecdotal about the experience of the last few days for him personally, just getting the phone call from Patrick Stewart and all that, and having to get his backroom team sorted, blah, blah, blah. But he stopped ever going too far. He stopped it ever going too far without having to be in any way rude. And I think he dealt with it very professionally. You forget that he's been involved, even just the ambassadorial role he's got at Ibrox that he was saying he's really happy to have over the last few years. He's just talking to people all the time, and he'll have to talk to in-house media or whatever. He'll have to talk to media people. He does various podcasts, and I know he's got a Daily Record column or something. I don't know how often he writes the Daily Record or anything like that, but I know he does various little kind of minor media roles, etc. So he's used to speaking to people, and I forget he's grown up. I mean, he's lived under such a blaze of publicity since his teens, really. Barry Ferguson, it's all Rangers publicity, that kind of level. He went down to Blackburn Rovers and thought it was too quiet down there. He couldn't handle how boring it was, the lack of pressure at an English Premier League side. So he wanted to come back to Rangers for the drug of the constant demands. So probably to get away from that has let him smooth out a few edges in his character for a while. It's a few kind of a bit more maturity. He's like 47, I think, because he was a kid when I first saw him playing for Rangers. I forget that he's a full-grown man now. This needs to be a different Rangers, said the Sky headline. That was a quote they picked out from him that they put across the studio there while they were talking to Boydie about his mate getting the job. But this was about Rangers today. So he was happy to be anecdotal about the last few days, what it meant to him personally, but he stopped it before it was becoming like the kind of Barry Ferguson story. He did it like a smooth pro. In his own style, and you've got to be comfortable as yourself. Remember Alec McLeish talking about that when he was player manager at Motherwell at the end of his career, his first kind of management job, and he said they were getting beat at half time, or they played terrible in the first half, so he tried to do the Fergie hairdryer treatment on all the players. They said it was just laughable. They were just kind of like they feared him even less after he'd obviously tried to impersonate Alec Ferguson, and it wasn't in Alec McLeish's character to be that kind of horrific towards his own players. You've got to be yourself, and I thought that came across loud and clear today. Barry was comfortable within his own skin. I remember Steve Davis. I don't mean Steve Davis is absolute royalty as far as I'm concerned, a Rangers legend. But I remember in the presser he had alongside Tav, when Steve Davis took over on a kind of interim basis for just those 2 games last season before we got Philip Clement in. Excuse me, folks, sorry. It's all getting too much for me. I need to start smoking, I think. I felt as if Steve Davis and Tav were too laid back. They were kind of just sitting there like, oh, this is quite, look at us, we're the Rangers management team, almost. And we have one of the worst results in our history straight after that. Then scalped St Mirren 3-0. Back in their own milieu, St Mirren, ironically. But I felt as if they were neither, they weren't kind of cognizant of the enormity of what they were doing, even on an interim basis. Or, well, Steve Davis, it has to be said. But I think Barry came across the day like he definitely gets it, and he's able to handle it. We'll just find out if he's actually good enough at the job. He was saying how he was surprised that I obviously got the call on Sunday, and he's got the obviously in the wrong way. I mean, they obviously should have gone in at the beginning. Obviously surprised that I got the call on Sunday, but it only took 5 minutes to agree. 5 minutes, Barry. 5 minutes to agree. Don't know, that's looking at 4 minutes and 59 seconds longer than I thought it would have taken. So where's the doubts coming from, mate? What's the problem? What's the hold up? What's the scoop, Barry? We're going to need to get some new gossip to keep us going. I was sitting here just doing a press conference. I'm just dying to say, get this imposter at the job. It's a joke. He's gaslighting us. Get ready. I'm telling him to sack Tav. What's going? Oh no, it's Barry. It's a new guy. It's a new guy. We don't have to start on that patter. Again, it feels like a long time. 16 months Philip Clement was in the job, and I liked Philip Clement. I thought he came across pretty well in these press conferences. You end up feeling sorry for him, to be quite honest, but it's just a presser where at least the abuse will be different. If nothing else, it's a change as good as a rest. Somebody asked him today, and I don't know who, I'm not going to go back through the press conference, but somebody asked him, did they think you were at the wind-up, Barry? Like when he was phoning Alan McGregor and Billy Dodge and Neil McCann and asked him to come along as his backup team, as his coaching team to take over at Rangers, even on an interim basis. It was a kind of quite a painful, kind of characterising question. It's just a laugh to you guys. You're all a bit daft, aren't you? What we're all thinking, especially when it comes to Barry and Griggs, the daft as a brush thing, which has always been completely garbage. And he dealt with it really brilliantly. It was just kind of, no, I'm not taking this lightly. I'm taking this seriously. He was just saying, no, they didn't think it was a wind-up. They were taken aback by how serious it was, I think, was what Barry was trying to intimate. Let they get the import of the job, is what he was basically saying. And I get it as well. And without being in any way rude to the journalist, that's another thing. He could deal with the barbs today. He knew people were trying to have a wee go every now and then. Going to give us some sort of fissure here, Barry, something we can get our claws into and prise open and find some sort of deeper scandal or, a thread we can latch onto, to characterise for hits and likes and selling their newspapers. He wasn't having it at all, but neither was he getting angry about it or reacting. He took his time. He's a lot calmer than Clement, I thought, in many ways. Like he's running the midfield with a wee shammy here and there, selling you the odd dummy, and nothing was phasing him at all. It was good. It was impressive. It was very professional. No, I'm not taking this lightly. I'm taking this seriously. I have to point that out. All his coaching team are up for it. They're enthusiastic for the job. They're perfect because Neil McCann, Billy Dodds have coaching experience, and like Griggsy, Alan McGregor, they're great characters who can get in about the players. And he emphasised that he knows that the players are going to need kind of G'd up. They're going to need cheered up. And I think without naming names or saying anything disrespectful to Philip Clement, I think he was just saying the players have been feeling it, how bad things have been, and he was quite happy to get. He knows that he's got in Neil McCann and Billy Dodge and Alan McGregor, three guys as well as himself, know how to be amongst players and know how to G up players, and that is what is required just now. Folk are dying to get him to say that he wants the job long term and should he expect the job long term. He wouldn't even talk about playing Motherwell on Saturday or Jose Mourinho next Thursday. It was just he's saying, I'm only focused on Kilmarnock. I'm only focused in terms of the job, in terms of what he expects. Does he expect to get offered the manager's job full time? No, I think we all know that he's just in there as long as it takes Patrick Stewart and Niels Coppin to appoint Jurgen Klopp as our sporting director, and then get Gareth Southgate in as our first team manager, and maybe have, I don't know, Gareth Bale in there for shooting practice or something like that. No, it's not until they get the proper team together. These boys, they've got these Rangers legends, Barry Ferguson, Neil McCann, Billy Dodds and Al McGregor are placeholders, but they're going to do the job there. But he refused to talk about that. Barry, he said, "No, I'm just here for the 11 games, and I want to win the remaining league games." He didn't even specify the number of remaining league games, but it is 11. I just want to win them. I just want to win all these games. It'll be tough, but I think that's what we should do. He wasn't even acknowledging that he's in Europe. He's going to have a European tie. He wouldn't even talk about Jose Mourinho. That it was good. He wasn't going to give any headlines away, but he did it, as I say, in a really friendly fashion, a really laid back fashion. That was quite impressive. Did it nicely, subtly, convincingly. I was waiting for him to say, no, not gen up, man, not gen up. He just kept saying, no, believe me, it's so, it's no more kind of synergy, synchronicity, automatisms. I'm not busy with that. And it was just, it's obviously, listen, I'll be brutally honest, I'll be totally honest with you, and a wee clip round here. He could have a nightmare, He could have a nightmare. This could be a disastrous move by Patrick Stewart and Neil Scotland. But in terms of a PR exercise, I think Barry today and last night pivoted the vibe of Saturday and Sunday and Monday lunchtime, like he pivoted the entire Bayer Leverkusen midfield and defence on the 22nd of October 1998, the day Yanis Hadji was born. Now all he's got to do is deliver the Europa League title and claw back Celtic's mere 16-point lead with 11 games to go in the SPFL Premiership race. And it is a race now, isn't it? Because Barry's back. He didn't bite regarding the sacking of Alec Ray and Colin Stewart. That's another masterful moment in the press conference today. Am I overly enthusiastic? I'm talking about somebody mastering a press conference. I can't help it. It's nice. It wasn't it. I felt so bad yesterday for feeling so shocked and so almost appalled. Not at Barry for getting this job, but for Barry, worrying what was going to happen to him, thinking he wasn't capable. But it's nice to just slowly build up a bit of confidence in him and see that it's not going to destroy him anyway, that he's got the fortitude, he's got the character to take it on. And that was displayed again in that little question about, it was almost like a journalist, I don't know who it was wanting Barry to have kind of come into the building on Sunday night, and tell Alec Ray and Colin Stewart, no, you're out here. Nah, I'm not wanting you, or something like that. Trying to find a little bit kind of gossipy angle to what is already a horrible story. It's always horrible when people have to lose their job. But he didn't even mention their names. He just told, no, I was just asked to get my own coaching team together. So that's it. Really good. Quite economic with what he was doing, not giving anybody any room to. It's very professional. I asked about James Tavernier, obviously, about stripping Tav of, excuse me, sorry, this is terrible, the captaincy. And he was talking about, no, this wasn't going to happen, just straight away, no. And that kind of, just a low, just, no. That's it, we'll move on for that, that's not going to happen. Had a meeting with James, not Tav, James, very respectful, not going to try and be matey with him when he's no, maybe top mates with him, as it is, but he says, I kind of looked him in the eyes and I could see that he was up for it, and he was going to captain Rangers. I think it would be, if he did, it would be a really amateurish move if he was going to drop James Tavernier as captain, before he'd taken over, before we'd had a game with Barry as manager. It would just like, I've been sitting in my ambassadorial role getting to watch, 20 minutes of first half, 20 minutes of second half, and a wee bit on the telly. I have decided he's got to go. He's a loser. It'd have been real, captain. What is it the haters call to have captain we go again or something? I can't remember. I'm sorry about this cough, folks. And this is pretty bad. This could become a problem. It seems to be getting worse. But maybe it's me think this is what happens when somebody's trying to pretend that they're more enthusiastic about a managerial appointment than they actually are. I don't feel that way. I feel I'm genuinely getting behind Barry. Why the hell not? But I think it would look really bad to say if he was to suddenly drop James Tavernier before he even played a game. But it might actually look like jealousy. It might look like jealousy because I think Tav's taken a few of Barry's European records. The two of them have captained Rangers to a European final. I think John Gregg would walk into the dressing room and just give it, it takes two of yous to have captained us in as many European finals as I have, and at least I won one of mine. I thought, all right, John. It would look a bit shit. Do you wonder if Tav actually goes to all these new managers that he's worked under? He's been and he goes, please, for God's sake, go and give somebody else the captaincy. No, Tav, it's going to make me look like real. I mean, if I just come in and I straight away take the captaincy after you, it's killing me, man. I used to be able to run from one byline to the other in like 10 seconds flat. Now I can barely get out my inbox. Going to just take it off me. Not that in the, is it Alien Cubed? Aliens Cubed, one of the Aliens films, I think it's the one that the French director did, when they, what's her name? The woman who's absolutely fantastic in it and is a great actress. She's actually in Annie Hall right at the end. I think it's her first credit. Sigourney Weaver, when she's going through one of the ships that's been taken over by the aliens, and it's all the folk, the crew of the ship, but they've been caught by the aliens, and they've basically been all the goo and slime. They're being kept alive, but they've got baby aliens growing inside them, and they're going, "Kill me, kill me," and then the alien busts it. I don't know if it's Tav like that with the Rangers captaincy. I don't know, but no, Tav is going to continue to be captain. I think it would be it would look like Barry was just there to, my mate in the Bothwell True Blues or whatever that is said to me, "Get rid of that Tav." Barry's, right, I'll do that when I'm in there. So no, there was no chance of Tav being denied the captaincy. But I think Big Raman for STV asked him, what did you tell the players you expected from them? And it was really instant, convincing, low spoken but staring right at Rahman. I expect him to win games of football. I expect him to give me everything they've got, because that's what they're going to get from him and his coaching team. I had 5 minutes with him today, and I got that across to them. It's almost like he left them in no doubt, and he was pointing out the fact that he's not had a lot of time with the players. Obviously, he only came into the job. He got asked about the job on Sunday night. He got asked to take the job on Sunday night and to get his crew together, real tight crew, to get them together. And into the early hours a Monday morning, and then was it 4:30 or something yesterday? They come in, they come in and they had a meeting with Tav, etc. And then they've only had the training session today, really, with the players. But he enjoyed being back in the grass, which frankly is something we expect to hear from a manager with a sleeve of tattoos. The Rangers ever had a manager with a sleeve of tattoos. Kept poking at the cuffs, his tracksuit, everything. He put his hand up to his face. Maybe that was him going for the Charlie. Maybe he's missing the. What would Bill Struth think of managers with a sleeve of tattoos? Well, quite frankly, Bill Struth was just into the Rangers players being as trendy as possible. Sleeves of tattoos are the kind of pinstripe suit of and bowler hat of today. So we'd probably be telling everybody in the staff, Bill Struth would probably have the old sleeve of tattoos, and we'd have every one of his players out there making sure they go at the same thing. So it's just it's quite a symbol of the times that we are in. But oh my God, a new formation. Oh my God, somebody else picking the team. It's a change as good as a rest, and I think that's what he's saying. He's saying the players are on the grass today. There's a lot of positivity, a lot of laughter, and all that, a lot of shouting, a lot of noise. That's what he wants. He just wants the place to be buzzing, as they say in the SFA Manager's Handbook. He wants the place to be absolutely buzzing, and I think the fact that he said the players also enjoyed it. They clearly given up in Clermont, and it's that old thing of a change is good as a rest. That was me in, what was it, November-ish or something, a few months ago. I remember, a guilt-ridden podcast I did saying that I'd been, as much as I was fixed on Philip Clermont being the head of a project that had to happen, and everything had gone against Philip Clermont. He had a lot to work with. He'd been dealt a really bad hand. Lots of different departments of the football club, and still are in a bad way. Nothing, not the fault of Clermont in any way. We didn't even have a board properly or anything like that. So, excuse me. But I was really like, no, we're going to stick by Clermont. Any setbacks are not down to him. Look at what he's doing in Europe. He's obviously a really good manager. Look what he did in Belgium. He's obviously a really good manager. We need to stick by this guy. This is just us paying the price for 2012. We're going to have to go backwards a bit to go forwards long term. But I did do a podcast where I said I'd just been around to Morrison's that morning, and I did the bit you walk out the supermarket, any supermarket you go to, and they've got the wee bank of newspapers, the daily newspapers, and you do that thing where if you only get one bag out. Shopping as I had at that time, use the free hand to flick over the back of the Sun or the back of the Record just to see what the sports headlines are in the back pages. And it was somebody, and was it Barry Ferguson? I don't know, I can't remember. It was somebody who had a column for the Daily Record saying that, this Derek McInnes was going to be the man. Derek McInnes it's still the man who was going to go to Ibrox and replace Philip Clermont and get Rangers going again. And it must have been after another struggle on the road domestically this season. And I felt really guilty because I was titillated by that prospect. Just the idea of a change of face, of it not having to be the same questions getting answered the same way, in the same press, in the Rangers pre and post match press conferences. It did give me a wee buzz. I thought Derek McInnes would probably get us a better result at Dens Park. He would get us a better result at Easter Road or something, or Tynecastle, whatever it was at the time, whatever the setback had been, and I just wanted a change. But it was almost a way of saying, no, guys, I get it. I get you're unhappy. We should stick with Clermont. It seems like the players were probably feeling exactly the same way. It's not Derek McInnes, it's Barry Ferguson that we've got. New manager bounce was only 11 games to go in the league. So Michael Beale's new manager bounce was, I think, his first 15 games, he won 14 and drew 1. So even as much as a disaster Beale was, that would be all right for Barry. That would see him right to the end of the season. It would be a triumphant interim managerial period. Philip Clermont, he went 16 unbeaten altogether. I think it was he won 9 and drew 1 of his first 10 league. I'm reading it off, but I wrote this down earlier. I know exactly what it is. I don't think I know because I just wrote it down. But sometimes with specs like this and coughing all day, there's every chance I read it wrong. But he won 9 and drew 1 of his first 10 league games in charge. He had 2 League Cup wins, the semi-final and the final, and 2 draws and 2 wins in Europe. So he was 16 games unbeaten, 13 wins, 3 draws. Until he went to Parkhead. Same with Beale, it was Parkhead. The two of them get beat. So if he did kind of new manager bounce to anything like the same extent as those two, that will see him right through to the end of the season, domestically anyway, Barry. He just has to do games. Europe, I just want respect. I just want something respectable. If we're going to go out, we're going to go out. But interesting stuff last night. Interesting stuff. Noticed the fact that Galatasaray held Fenerbahce or drew 0-0 at home with Fenerbahce in the Istanbul, or one of the Istanbul derbies, and that effectively, well, it doesn't end, but it's a much worse result for Fenerbahce because they're still trailing Galatasaray by, I think it's 6 points. Fenerbahce second in the Turkish Super League, Galatasaray first as it ended last season. But this total Rami, Jose Mourinho, as he does, just can't take getting beat. Show me a bad loser, and I'll show you a wanker. I'll show somebody who doesn't get the idea of sport. Really, I've never really believed in that whole thing of trashing the sport you love just because you're losing at it. And that's the one thing I really go against Mourinho. But he's in there, and Galatasaray are accusing him of racism. Against their bench, their entire coaching staff, and also continued anti-Turkish racism against the Turkish refereeing officials. He's already been censured for having a go at Turkish referees. He only arrived last summer in the Turkish league, Mourinho, but they're talking about suing Galatasaray. Report them to the authorities, like the police. I think they've reported them to UEFA. Definitely UEFA, maybe FIFA as well. I would imagine that the Turkish FA are getting a big complaint from Galatasaray about Mourinho's remarks. Mourinho himself, of course, has totally denied it, and as have Fenerbahce. They're launching a counter suit and all this kind of thing, and accusing Galatasaray of slander. There was a Slovenian referee that was refereeing the game last night. You think it's bitter here, you think it's small-minded here. My God. But imagine that came true. Imagine that came true, and Jose Mourinho actually, it's been reported to UEFA, and it's just, this is the way it happens. Often you think about Zinedine Zidane, who I'm talking about, a great midfielder, won the World Cup with France, scores 2 goals in the final in '98, and he's already scored a goal in the final in 2006. Sticks the nut in somebody. That's his last game. That's his last game of football for France. I think it was his last game of football, full stop. Gets sent off, and France lose that World Cup final in penalties. So it's your budget, and Mourinho, who's won all these European trophies, set European records, and what have you, won leagues in England, Spain, Italy. This could be the way he eventually it's completely horrible. It's complete infamy, a total disgrace. He ends up getting Fenerbahce banned from Europe. Maybe he's going to get them banned from Europe. No. UEFA have to make these really big token gestures against racism, and maybe he's, I don't mean, I'm totally anti-racist. I think they're totally sickening, but it's been UEFA aren't interested. They're just doing what they have to do. Really, it's them that's got the tokenism. But it'd be a slight thing if he actually gets Fenerbahce banned for Europe, and we get a buy. We get a buy into the the quarterfinals. That'd be fantastic. I would take that. I'm not above that. I would totally take that. And that would be Billy Dodds was Inverness Caley Thistle manager when they get put out the Scottish Cup. Was it 3 seasons ago? By Queen's Park. I think they get beat at Inverness as well. They get beat by newly professional Queen's Park in the Scottish Cup. Ring any bells? And it turned out Queen's Park had fielded an ineligible player. So Inverness Caledonian Thistle got to the final. Celtic, they get beat off Celtic, but Celtic had beaten us in the semi, so they went further than us under Billy Dodds. It was actually because Queen's Park get thrown out the competition. It wasn't a replay. They just get thrown out the competition. So it was effectively a kind of bye for Inverness Caley Thistle. I mean, it was the early rounds. They still had plenty more teams to beat to get themselves to the final. But as a lower league side, but they did that, and it'd be quite late, I think, if Billy Dodds is there again when we get through the next round, because luck has got a lot to do with it as well. I'm not above taking that on board. But it's quite like Queen's Park. I know we're not supposed to talk about it. It's supposed to be painful, but they really are. It's two kind of significant moments in their rise from amateurism. Was it 2019 they turned professional? And that's a super professional thing, total cynical, just totally in the same competition, in which they made their name, their fame, the Scottish Cup. They won, the first 3 Scottish Cups, and they won 9. They won 6 of the first 9 Scottish Cups. Won 10 altogether before 1900. It was just like the thing that they've actually went in the Scottish Cup and been totally, we're fielding an eligible player, that kind of thing. That's like the Queen's Park, the 2 Queen's Park fans who voted against turning professional. That's probably what they imagine professionalism's like. And you've just done it. You've sold our soul just to rub it in the face. And then the ones who are thinking, no, we should turn professional, I think it was at 97% of their shareholders, 97% of their fan base voted to turn professional. They're saying, I knew we're beating Rangers in the Scottish Cup. That's something that would never have happened in all that century and a bit of amateurism. So that's 2 kind of major moments. I'm getting totally distracted in a pod that's supposed to be short. Sorry, folks. But yeah, so we no injury or fitness updates in this press conference, but it's another major change from the Philip Clement to come. But I don't think Cortez is going to be coming back on the surface that inflicted the first serious injury of his career that we know about this time last year. John Souttar being back. Now, Philip Clement said that John Souttar was, just out for the one game, really. It was just a wee injury. It certainly cost us. I think, as I say, his absence turns... it just turns Jack Butland into jelly, as far as I'm concerned. Although maybe Alan McGregor, I'll just turn him to a puddle training with Alan McGregor. But I would like to see John Souttar coming back. That's the big one for me. He wasn't meant to be out for long. Kilmarnock are 9th in the table. It was Aberdeen against, I think Celtic are thrashing Aberdeen as I currently speak in the league. There's no other games going on. It won't affect that. They are 9th in the table, Kilmarnock, on 31 points, which is just 4 above the relegation playoff spot, but it's also 4 points behind 5th place, as at the time of this pod. Derek McInnes, who, have I mentioned this already because I'm obsessed with it, the hair, Barry's hair. Have I said this already? Sorry, I'm coughing my memories out of my head here, but Barry, it's just so nice. It wasn't a bald, but I'm not nothing again. Obviously, I'm a baldy myself, but I just seen a press conference with a manager with proper hair that can rival Derek McInnes's. Barry looks like he'd still play. Derek McInnes fancies himself as still being a player, and of course, I think Barry would have kept Derek out of the team at Ibrox during their playing career. But I think that McInnes has still got more hair on top and a slightly bushier beard and tash and that, but his has gone greyer. Barry's still got the natural, the brown. It's still his natural colour there, unless he's hitting out a bit of the old Grecian 2000 or whatever it is, men with hair do to dye their hair. But it's really good to see if somebody can take on. I think that's the first victory, the first kind of psychological bit of warfare when it comes to going down to Rugby Park, is trying to beat McInnes in the hair stakes. And finally, we've got somebody who can do that. But Derek McInnes, he had to beat Arbroath. I'm talking about Barry Ferguson could have been playing against Arbroath, could have been managing a team against Arbroath tonight. Deeks had to beat them to get Killie back up into the top flight. Remember that? There was a chance Arbroath were going to go up into the top flight of Scottish football. But they beat us 1-0 at Rugby Park in October. Marley Watkins goal with 3 minutes for the end. It's us after the international break. Again, terrible after any kind of break. And it's not just a Philip Clement problem, but he seemed to take it to new levels. It's been a thing for Rangers, particularly I started noticing it during the Steven Gerrard era, when just any kind of break we had at all, we lost all momentum. It would usually come back really slowly, if not disastrously. Philip Clement took that to a new level with 3 weeks off, and this is back playing midweek football again, which, to be honest, seems to suit us. But we lost after the international break. It was a Sunday down there at Rugby Park in October. A terrible performance. And then in early December, 4th December, we thrashed them 6-0 at Ibrox. We were only 1-0 up at half time. Absolutely thrashed them. And I was kind of laughing at my previous, after that game, I was laughing at my previous kind of grubby interest in Derek McInnes taking over, because it would just be a change. And it's like, obviously Philip Clement's the man. We'll just beat them. We'll just beat Derek McInnes' team 6-0. Kilmarnock went out of the Scottish Cup to Celtic at Parkhead. They went out of the League Cup to Motherwell at Fir Park. That was them just out after one game in each of the other domestic competitions this season. But in Europe, I think this is what's killed them, because Kilmarnock finished 4th last season. That's what got them into Europe under Derek McInnes. I think only his second season. I think only in their second season back in the top flight, wasn't it? So he's done brilliant, McInnes. Between 25th of July and the 29th of August, they had 3 ties, 6 games in European competition. They were, I think Cercle Bruges put them at the second qualifying round of the Europa League. Cercle Bruges, who also dealt Hearts a blow in the Conference League group stage, and then they played Tromsø of Norway in the third qualifying round of the Conference League, and then they lost it they beat them, I think 3-2 over the 2 legs on aggregate, and they lost out to Copenhagen, I think 3-1 on aggregate in the playoff round of the Europa League. They didn't lose any of those games at Rugby Park. Very respectable score lines in all those games for Kilmarnock, but it's obviously a massive drain. A club like Killie, Europe does affect you. It does affect you, especially playing with those kind of the lack of resources they've got at Kilmarnock. So I think they're starting to find their way back to a bit of form. They lost 1-0 to Aberdeen at Pittodrie, I think. They certainly lost 1-0 to Aberdeen at the weekend anyway. They won their 2 previous league games, one of which was against Dundee United, who've been going quite well. So it's up and down for Killie, but they're getting a bit of form back. And, well, you know what they always do to us. When we go to Rugby Park, it's been absolutely a nightmare venue for every Rangers manager since Walters had his 3-0 up there after 7.5, 8 minutes in his last ever game as Rangers manager, and that was on the grass. You know, I think Ali, when he took over as manager, lost there when it was still grass at Rugby Park before they changed it to, well, it's not so much Deso Grassmaster as desperate ass master beta. So I can't quite think of a rhyme. It's a shit surface. The plastic at Kilmarnock at Rugby Park is absolutely terrible, which is quite ironic considering when I was growing up, Rugby Park was one of the boast at Rugby Park was it's always playable. The Rugby Park surface is always playable. Joshua Barry of the Rangers Review was asking Barry Ferguson of Rangers interim coaching fame about his instructions to the new players. Joshua Barry's always got a kind of focus on tactics. He's very good on that stuff. But Barry said he was not. Barry Ferguson said he was not filling the players with too much information because it's too short notice. And I've only really had one training session with them, he said. But they totally understand what we are going to do against a good. We don't want to talk about Kilmarnock being a really good team, really respectful. Derek McInnes being a really good manager, really good experienced manager. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here tomorrow night. I think Barry Ferguson also said something. Somebody was asking him for what his kind of tactical blueprint was going to be, and he said, "No, we're going to keep that private just now. I'm not going to." It was very professional. He's not going to give anything away. But he did say in his in-house interview with Rangers TV that it was going to be aggressive in an attacking sense, in a positive sense. He wanted Rangers to be playing on the front foot. I don't know. So we're just guessing. We're totally guessing. It's nice to have a total guess. It's nice to know. It's not necessarily going to be 4-2-3-1. It's almost certainly not going to be 4-2-3-1. But I have a funny feeling it's going to be 4-4-2. It's a bit on fleek. It gets a bit back in vogue. 4-4-2. It's making a comeback. It just seems like. But I can imagine Neil McCann been really tactically astute and drawn up what he thinks. This is, I think, how we should go about it, Barry. And maybe going 4-3-3, and Barry just going, no, just doing that Steven Gerrard bit that he probably did to shut up Michael Beale from overthinking things. No, we're going to do this instinctively as a top midfield general. I'm just, as the leader here, no, let's up the ante. I think he might go 4-4-2, to be quite honest. I think, I've just a funny feeling, and this is based on nothing, obviously, it's a brand new management team. It wouldn't surprise me if the Diomande and Raskin duo gets split up tomorrow night, one way or another. The sitting two, the kind of symbol of Clement's 4-2-3-1 system, which will have to go. It may be the kind of symbolic, it may be kind of symbolically vandalised, dissolved, defenestrated tomorrow night, just to say that Philip Clement is definitely no longer in charge. They might get rid of, a funny feeling it's going to be Bajrami or Hadji going in there beside Dio or Raskin. And the other one of Bajrami or Hadji is going to probably play wide left. And you're not getting rid of Cherny, so he's going to go wide right. And I think you're looking at it being Igaman and Dessers up front. I think that's going to happen there. I'm hoping it's going to be John Suter at centre half. If he's back, even Balogun, if he's back, I think Clinton and Ciala, it makes it easier with being a new management team for Clinton to get a wee shot out of the limelight, because Derek McInnes will be targeting him after what Olasanya and friends did to him on Saturday. Poor big Clinton, though I think he was harshly treated by the referee as well. But I think he might get a wee shot out the limelight, and I would like to see Proper and Suter, or I would ideally like to see Balogun and Suter, quite honestly, but I don't know if Liam Balogun's fit, and he very rarely lasts a full game these days anyway, and he certainly won't on the plastic at Kilmarnock. If it's 4-2-3-1, I'll kill myself. 4-3-3 would be preferable, but I think it's going to be, I just have a funny feeling it's going to be 4-4-2. Okay, folks, what's that? That's 46 minutes for this podcast. It was going to be really short. Talking about Barry playing against Jose Mourinho. He wasn't want to answer questions about that today, but he did beat Jose Mourinho. Remember that 2007 friendly, the pre-season friendly at the start of 2007-2008 season, we played Chelsea at Ibrox. We beat them 2-0. Nacho Novo and Sibo scored right towards the end. It was a cracking atmosphere. It was like a proper full-on game. And that was just before Jose actually got the boot or walked away from Chelsea. Anyway, so he has got the best of Jose in one respect. Kilmarnock as well, the symbolism of Kilmarnock, I think it was a 3-0 doing. Like Ian Durrant and Ali McCoy's Kilmarnock beating us 3-0 at Ibrox, that led, I think it was the last game of Amoruso being captain. So Barry becomes captain of Rangers in the next game as a result of that, and obviously the horrible home draw with Monaco that put us at the Champions League. But it's quite interesting. I was talking last night about Barry Ferguson when I was a kid, and kind of found out and how, like, the Ferguson family have got a massive influence in my life, even though I've never met any of them, just because of my love for Rangers and their love for Rangers and the service they've given Rangers. There's a wee bookend to that story I was prattling on about, if you were nice enough to give me your time last night. I was talking about throwing away my scarf when I was like 16 because Derek Ferguson would get subbed off by Jock Wallace at Parkhead. We were getting beat 2-0. As a wee bookend to that, in 1993, so not even 10 years later, I was in the jungle with my wee sister, actually, for the Scottish Cup semi-final, for Rangers beating Hearts 2-1 in the Scottish Cup semi-final, on our way to the treble. And I remember Derek Ferguson coming off the park, getting subbed off by Hearts, and getting a standing ovation from the entire stadium. And it was all Jambles in the Rangers end that day. I was in the actual jungle, so I don't know, that's a kind of nice thing, maybe. I don't know if it's a proper bookending to that story. He drove into training yesterday. He drove into Auchenhowie, Barry, in an orange, I think it's more rust-coloured, to be quite honest with you, a rust-coloured, is it a Ford Ranger pickup? Pickup! That's what I shouted. That's what I was shouting, just like an idiot. Every time I get passed by a pickup, just about 11 months ago, or was it? And I'm sorry to keep going on about this, but it just keeps coming back to me. There's so much going wrong with the USA now because Trump's been voted back in as president. But it's just despite that, I love the States, and we're going to have US money coming in. So focusing, it's an orange Ford Ranger pickup he's driving, you know. And there's that thing. You're getting the abuse for Celtic fans. Obviously, you can't avoid it if you're on social media in any way where they're, you know, Barry's stupid, and Rangers fans in general. I mean, see, Rangers fans do the exact same thing to Celtic fans. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to claim this as a one-sided thing here. It's just the world we live in. Unfortunately, that's the world of football where everything's just, you know, as opposed to blue or green, it's black and white. You know, the other side are all wrong, and they're all idiots, they're all morons, and we're all fantastic and good-looking and really intellectual. And that goes over the score when it comes to Rangers and Celtic, because you get the whole religious aspect, the sectarian aspect, the different schools. That kind of nonsense gets brought into it. But it was about 15 years ago. I'm 55. I was relatively late in life before I discovered that Celtic fans actually go about calling us rednecks. You know, by us I mean Rangers. It's that thing. It's weird for me because I'm not actually Protestant. I was never, you know, I went to a, you know, was it non-denominational school, whatever. I didn't go to a Catholic school. I went to what you would loosely call a Protestant school, although it's not strictly any kind of religion at school. But my mum's Catholic, as I say, my dad's Protestant, and neither of them make it so much. They couldn't care less about religion. So neither my sister or I were, you know, raised in any particular religion. So it's when the Hun thing gets thrown about. You know, you hear like Protestant Aberdeen fans and Protestant Dunfermline fans, and that I've heard all that. You know, Protestant St Johnstone fans, etc., calling us Huns. You know, so sometimes it's religious kind of undertone, overtone, whatever. It doesn't strictly pertain. But I didn't realise that we were rednecks, we were hillbillies, you know. And I do like a bit of country music, you know, and it's quite a thing to take on board. You know, a lot of Celtic fans, the Celtic fans who are as bigoted as the Rangers fans who hate all Catholics. There's Celtic fans who think, you know, being Catholic makes them totally superior, and not all Celtic fans are Catholic. You know, I get all that. So I'm just talking about bigots and the different shades, the different ways that bigotry takes place. And I just thought with that day's Barry come in with the pickup truck, you know, and I just, you know, because I was over in Nashville, Tennessee. I went over to Tennessee last year. As I keep going on about in these pods, I have to tell somebody about it. It's like the podding equivalent of the guy who used to get out the slides and all that, start showing you like photographs, these holidays. Luckily, we've got Facebook now. You can just ignore that. But I was over there and driving about, and it was a dream of mine to drive in the States. And I drove through a time zone at one point in Tennessee, in the same state. Just drove through a time zone. You know, the clock changes and all that, and suddenly the radio. It was amazing. A great experience for you, and to drive on the interstate and all that. It was great fun. But it was just, I think, a month beforehand in Tennessee they had changed. They had just changed the law so that first cousins couldn't marry each other. They're probably rescinding that now. It's one of an ancient law, probably, or an ancient lack of a law in that case, you know, which played up to the whole kind of hillbilly atmosphere. It's, you know, we were going to Dollywood and all that, and Dolly Parton, where she was raised and all that, and she's poor and all that. And my family, you know, my dad's side of the family is that, like, you know, my dad's dad died. My dad was 14 and stuff like that, and he was the oldest of 5 kids, and he didn't believe in life insurance. You know, the grandpa that I never met. So they were all, well, my gran had to work like 3 jobs and that kind of stuff. So it's all these kind of connotations. That's why folk love the country music and what have you. And it's always been in the back of my mind since then. Oh, we're rednecks, we're hillbillies. You know, Celtic fans think we're like thick and all that because we didn't go to Catholic school. You know, it's like, I've been at university and I've got a degree, but actually I feel thick here. You know, amongst guys who've, you know, didn't even go to night school, and guys who barely go to any O levels, but because they are Catholics, they're super intellectual, and I'm an idiot. You know, I'm backwards, I'm inbred, and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's the same stuff I've seen levelled at Celtic fans by Rangers supporters who think in the same manner. But I've been over there in Nashville and driving about, and everybody in Tennessee has got a pickup. You know, I was in a saloon car and I was loving it. And I thought I was, you know, Neil McCauley, as played by De Niro in Heat. Driving through, Amy Benjamin by my side, going through these beautifully lit tunnels and what have you. But it was a phenomenal experience. Everybody has got a pickup, and they're beautiful. They're lovely, the pickup trucks. So this is just what folk drive in Tennessee. So many folk obviously stay in the country and the countryside and on farms and what have you. But not that many, not everybody. It's just a kind of fashion statement as well. It's pickups everywhere. These beautiful big kind of Chevrolet pickups. And what was the other main make? I can't remember. I'm not a cars person. but there's a bit in Heat, the film Heat, that I'm always talking about in these pods, where, what do you call him? Michael Breeden, as played by Dennis Haysbert, who is, a black guy, beaten down by the system. He's done time in jail with Neil Macaulay, and he's reduced to having to work, for a total con man in this diner as a grill man. So every time that somebody's meal's ready, he shouts "pick up." He's like the chef basically, but he's like pick up. And I was driving about, and I'm driving about thinking I'm Neil Macaulay, but every time I see one of these pickup trucks passing, I'm going pick up. So many pickup trucks. An amazing country, and I'm thinking, yeah, I saw some of the most disgusting. I saw a single act of non-violence, didn't lead to anything, racism from a policeman in the airport. In Tennessee, and there was a few other borderline things happening round about. It was chilling. It was absolutely chilling. You think these guys have now, since Trump's come into power now, these guys have now got free reign over there, that the system's backing them up. But you also see, you just know that people, it doesn't work like that. Not everybody can be pushed into these kind of categories, and there's so much of that kind of down home, manners, and people just chatting away to you and making you feel right at home, and it's beautiful. And I'm always keen to go to places like that, where I know things can be hard, can be violent, can be whatever, but at the same time there's so much of it that's good as well. Anyway, I'm not talking. But it's just a weird thing today, seeing Barry coming in on the pickup truck into Auchenhowie when he's, Celtic fans be slagging him as a redneck. Well, I mean, I went to the Country Music Hall of Fame and this kind of stuff. We went to Dollywood, the Dolly Parton theme park, and all that. Stayed there for a couple of nights. I love it, absolutely love. I love my country music. I love my redneck music. I love my hillbilly music. I love my bluegrass, etc. But I just thought it was supposed to be getting American investors, and it's a very different type of America that'll be, if it's San Francisco, whatever. Investing in Rangers, hopefully before the summer. But it was just amazing seeing Barry coming in there and that was the feeling I got in that press conference today. We've had the sophistication, the plan, the kind of the continental thing that I always love, I always go for. I always want the more pseudo-intellectual, the better, as far as I'm concerned. And then Barry was in the other day just being. It was like when Walter Smith went to replace Paul Le Guen, and my reaction was, "Oh, great! So we've given up on trying to win in Europe. We've given up on trying to do it in Europe." I mean, that Paul Le Guen has just won our first competitive match in Italy ever as a club. Got us through to the next stage, through the through the UEFA Cup group stage, without a game to spare. We get through to a game to spare. So we're getting rid of him, but we're getting Walter in. We're getting Walter back so we can beat Celtic and win the league again. Oh, great. Walter doesn't win the league in his first season, his first full season back. He just gets us to our first European final in 36 years. I learned my lesson then. There's some football is slightly myopic. You do need people who understand the club, and who understands the club better than Barry. Oh, Barry Ferguson. You get young folk today saying, "Oh, I've complaining about Clement, complaining about." Wanting somebody more down home, and I want, when I heard Barry at the press conference today, I felt home. I felt like that affinity. It was lovely. It was really good. Yeah, a total familiarity, that familial thing, almost with an old face. But I was fighting the idea of Clement getting sacked, and younger Rangers fans than me, given I'm like 20 or whatever, and I've only seen Rangers win the league once, and we couldn't even get into the grounds. Because it was a COVID season. I'm like, shut up. I'm 55. You're not 55. What a number to be. I'm 55 years old. I think I've seen in my lifetime Rangers have won the league 21 times, and I've been in the grounds when they've won the league. The moment they've actually sealed the title, twice. It's unbelievable. Twice. Just try and work out how many times Rangers have sealed the league title at Ibrox. Now, the first time, I was born in 1969, just a couple of months after Celtic had won their second treble, so that's how lucky I am. Add to that, the first time we won the league while I was alive, my dad and my dad's dad both supported Kilmarnock. They're both, so it is going home, it is a family thing for Barry Ferguson's management debut, or Rangers management debut, being at Rugby Park. But Kilmarnock had actually won the league more recently than Rangers when I was born, so I'm not a glory hunter. I was being quite daring, really, to become a Rangers supporter. But we won the league. We didn't win the league until 75, and then won it 3 times under Jock Wallace. We won it 3 times in 4 years: 75, 76, and 78. So when did I go to my first Rangers game? 77. The season, the one season in 4 that we didn't win the league. That's probably why I get taken along as well. I was only like 7, 8 at the time, but I get taken along with my debut. But I remembered. My first memories is I remember us winning the league in 78. I remember being in my nana's, and it was a grandstand, and it had the little thing up, the little caption up, somebody reporting from Ibrox. We'd beaten Motherwell 2-0. That was, we'd sealed the Premier League, 1977-78 Premier League title, and then the following week, or whatever it was, I was in my mum and dad's house, in my house it was at the time too. I watched Rangers winning the Scottish Cup final. I remember watching it live. I remember decorating the television with scarves and all that. I'd seen my auntie doing, if there was a live game on, that she wasn't actually at the game, and watched us beating Aberdeen in the 1978 Scottish Cup final, and it was great. And I thought every year's going to be like this, a bit like Alan Kennedy, I think, said that when he won the Fairs Cup with Arsenal in 1970 when he was a kid. He scored in the Fairs Cup final, and then in 71 they won the double, and they thought, I think he said every season's like this. This is easy, this football stuff. And it didn't get much harder for Alan Kennedy because he went to Liverpool and they won everything as well because he was a bloody brilliant player. But I felt like that in the days as well. It was as a kid, this is great, and then it slowly 78-79 season, we won the Scottish Cup final after 2 replays. But we'd already chucked the league, but losing it kind of towards the end of the season, and a showdown with Celtic at Parkhead. We'd won the League Cup, but it was like, we don't win the treble every season. And then things just get really worse. So by the time I was like 16, 17, Rangers still hadn't won the league. Hadn't won the league again, it was brutal. But then, we get Graham Souness in, and I've gone through all this stuff, which I described last night, the depths of my pain, throw my scarf away at Parkhead, and here I was, 86, 87, it all transformed. We're heading up to Pittodrie. If we won that game at Pittodrie, we'd won the league. And so we drew that game at Pittodrie, but it turned out Celtic had beat at home by Falkirk, so it was a good chance it was going to be the day we won the league title for the first time in 9 years, and the first time really when I was a kind of sentient, almost adult, kind of grown up enough, having properly invested, giving it proper love, blood, sweat and tears. I'd barely missed a game home or away the past 2 seasons, and I was doing the same this season. And I used to go in the Stevenson Masonic bus. And the story is, I've told you this one before, I'm trying to cut a long story short. The Stevenson Masonic supporters bus, which was in Saltcoats, but it's the Stevenson thing. If you're in the lodge or the Masons, you'll know why. But it was basically a Masonic hall, or the wee kind of social club, the wee kind of bar, but next to the actual Masonic hall, in the Masonic hall, that you went to for the meetings. Then you had to go to your meeting every Tuesday night. I'm not in the Masons and all that, but you had to go to the supporters club meeting to, but every now and then in those days there would be a ballot for tickets as well. Quite a rare thing still in those days, but there was a ballot for the bus going to Aberdeen. I've been going to every away game for the past 2 seasons. And I'd done a paper round and all that when I was still at school, and I'd actually left school as soon as I could to get a job so I could find. I was just Rangers crazy. And so I went to this meeting. I remember walking into the meeting. The meeting for the Aberdeen game was, well, I think the meetings were every Tuesday night. Is that what it was? The meetings were every Tuesday night. So I went in the Tuesday night, just to walk up the stairs and go. And you just went and you sat down, and somebody would just announce stuff and that. And I walked in, and there was these guys in really funny outfits sitting, and they're looking at me. They're in the middle of getting changed as well, and they looked at me, and I looked at them, and I thought, this isn't right. I've walked into a local production of some play, or there's some judges from the High Court have come in. It was Masonic stuff. I didn't understand what's going on. So I just walked back, and there was obviously nobody there for the supporters club. And I'm like, what's that all about? It's the days before mobile phones, the days before you can text stuff and put stuff, no websites or anything like that. So I went back up the road and I thought, I'll find out what's happening. And I found out the meeting had been had. It was Rangers were playing on a Tuesday night. We were playing Clyde at Firhill. They were ground sharing with Partick Thistle. We're playing Clyde at Firhill in the Glasgow Cup, which technically then was a first team game, even though it was all reserves that were playing. So there was a crowd of about 1,000 there or something. There was no interest whatsoever, but the rules were if the first team was playing, the bus would go that night, and you'd have to move the meeting. You couldn't. The first team was playing the Tuesday night. The meeting for the following game would get moved. The meeting had been in the Monday night, so that was. I thought, well, my name didn't get. I couldn't get a ticket or whatever. My name hadn't get pulled out the hat or something. Whatever. Just had to get used to the fact I wasn't going to Pittodrie. So my mates and I got together. we couldn't get to the game. They couldn't get to the game, and we gathered in a wee pub in Saltcoats, on the border of Saltcoats and Dross, and a wee kind of hotel bar, and we'd ordered some champagne and that. Most of us was I 18 yet? No, I was 17 at the time. No, I was 18. I was 87. I was going. Oh no, I was about to turn 18. 17, but we managed to. It was an underagers place, and we listened on the radio. They had the radio turned up, so we could listen to Rangers winning the league, and I'm crying and all that because it just meant so much to us, and we're getting the drink in, and all that, and it was the Monday or something. That my mum and dad come into my bedroom. I'm still staying at mum and dad's, obviously, and they come into my bedroom just kind of before they went to bed and all that. Son, and I thought, somebody died. It's like they're going to tell me somebody had died. And I said, your uncle, he was in the committee, the supporters club. Howard's been on the phone. He just wanted to tell you, because didn't want you hearing from anybody else. You got a ticket in the ballot. Your name was drawn out the hat on the Monday night, but because you weren't there, you couldn't go. And I'd been resigned to the fact that's fine. There'd been a ballot. I hadn't got a ticket, but I didn't know that because I'd missed the meeting and my name get pulled out of the hat. You had to be there in person, and so I could have been there in '87. And it was just like, okay, thanks for that. Just leave me alone now. So I cried my fucking eyes out. You know what I mean? Nearly 80, but I was devastated to know that I could have been there. Rangers win the league for the first time, and it will never mean that much to me again. It will never mean that much to me. I mean, it still means a hell of a lot to me, obviously, as you can tell with these pods, but it will never mean as much to me now as it did back then. And I think I have a funny feeling. I have this instinct that set a pattern, because I slowly gave up on away games. I mean, I was still going to Scottish Cup games and that, right, well into the, kind of 2010s, but eventually I used to go home and away all the time, and it was like it's kind of happened without me almost. And it just, so I'd stopped going to away games, and Rangers, we win the league again. It's 9. We won the league 87, Celtic won double in 88, then it's 9 in a row for us, and then we get 2 titles under Advocat, 2 titles under McLeish, and another 3 in Walter's second coming. Stephen Gerrard, Rangers, they win the league. It's, nobody's going to the games because of COVID, but I was, excuse me, it just seemed to be we always want it away from home. And I couldn't get a ticket. And I just kind of stopped trying that hard to get a ticket. I'd be watching the telly, that through 9. Now, I went to uni, obviously. I went back as a mature student in the kind of early mid-90s. So that was all. I was saving up for that. And then, I had no money, really, at all to be going to the football. So a lot of it was watching the telly. But it turns out there's only twice I have been there. I'm supporting the club that I think it's only Linfield that have won a league title, their own league title, more often than us. And I've been supporting them, I'm 55-year-old, and I've won it 21 times in my life, and I've been there twice. I think I've been to well over 900 games. Footballogy tells me I've been to well over 900 Rangers first team games, male first team games. I think it's more than that, to be honest with you. But to have only, and the amount of times we won the league in that time, and I just happen to have only been, it's brutal. It's absolutely awful. And I've only been there once. I was there in 1989. We won the 88-89 league title. It was Aberdeen were playing Celtic. Aberdeen were the ones challenging us for the title. They were the nearest challengers, and Celtic held them at Pittodrie. It was a 0-0 draw at Pittodrie, but it wasn't Celtic that were trying to. It was Aberdeen that was trying to catch us for the league. We were 4-0 up against Hearts quite early on, totally destroying Hearts. Was it Mel Sterling got a couple of goals for us? And I was in the West Enclosure, and my mate, who was supposed to be going with me, he went to the ballet. I was at the opera with his girlfriend that night because she kind of put the thumb down. So I was there myself. We've been going together all season, a couple of seasons. And I'm there myself. Obviously, I'm surrounded by Rangers supporters. It was quite weird. And I just remember that it come through in the radio that Celtic that was final whistle in the Aberdeen game with Celtic, and that meant we'd won the league. And I remember the Govan stand kind of trampolining opposite us. And that song, "We are the champions, we are the champions." It was beautiful. It was an absolutely gorgeous film, but I was kind of there myself. And of course, it was still far from the end of the season, so there was no trophy presentation. I've only ever been there once. I've only ever been there once on the day where Rangers have won the league in the last day of the season. Therefore, we get the trophy presented at the end of the game as well. And it's sealing the title. I was there a couple of times when we sealed lower league titles. I can't say I'm particularly memorable, but see behind me that picture I've put up on the wall behind me, a picture my sister got me. I think she got it for the Scotsman. It's That's kind of wooden. It's a cardboard kind of lintel and a cardboard archway on a plastic podium. I'm the Govan rear. That was my season ticket, so I'm behind that. And that means with all the kind of confetti as well coming down, I can't see the presentation. I can't see the trophy. I wouldn't be able to see it if it wasn't for the guy who was lifting, was getting presented with that trophy, standing up and whatever it is, he's standing up so that the trophy went. I've got my back to this now because they had their back to me that day as well. But that's Howard for the Halifax. If you can see that photograph behind me, that's Howard for the Halifax Bank of Scotland presenting the trophy, and that's the only Rangers captain I've ever seen lifting the top Scottish title on the day it was won. That captain is Barry Ferguson, and he got a bit of help that day from Kilmarnock losing 4-0 at Rugby Park. I think we'll take a bit of that happening again on Wednesday night, folks. Good luck, Barry. Good luck, everybody. I'll talk to you after the game.